Tonight, you're going to travel through the quiet dance of planetary orbits. Not a journey of speed or destination, but a slow, meandering drift through the calm, repeating paths that worlds trace around their sun. Imagine you're beginning a journey, one where time moves differently, where nothing asks for your attention and nothing rushes toward a conclusion. You're going to float through the solar system like a silent observer, carried on currents of gravity that are gentle and ancient and entirely peaceful. There is no story to follow, no fact to remember, no revelation that will startle you awake. Instead, you'll simply be here, drifting from one orbit to another, noticing the soft light, the deep quiet, the endless, patient circling that has been going on long before any of us arrived and will continue long after. And so, in your own time, as you feel ready, you find yourself floating in a vast and calm darkness, surrounded by the faint, steady glow of distant stars. The space around you is not empty. It is filled with a profound stillness, a silence so complete that it becomes a kind of presence, holding you. You're not alone here. Not at all. You are in the middle of a great, slow dance, and the dancers are worlds. Just ahead, you sense a gentle warmth, a golden light that does not glare, but radiates with the softness of a distant hearth. That is the sun, the heart of this quiet dance, and you're drifting toward it, not in a hurry, not with any need to arrive, but simply moving, slowly, peacefully, drawn by the same steady pull that guides the planets. And as you drift closer, you begin to feel the sun's gravity not as a force that seizes you, but as a quiet invitation, a gentle hand that asks only that you circle, that you follow a path that curves gracefully through space. There is no urgency in this pull. It is the same patience that has held Mercury and Venus and Earth and the outermost icy wanderers for billions of years, a patience woven into the fabric of the universe. You feel yourself entering a great, invisible embrace, the kind that never tightens, never demands, but simply is. And in this embrace, you begin to see the first orbit, a slender, shimmering thread of light that marks the path of a small planet close to the sun. You drift toward it, and as you do, the sun's light becomes softer still, filtering through the quiet dark like honey poured into cool water. The space around you has a temperature you can almost feel, not hot, not cold, but the exact right measure of warmth to let you know you are held, safe and serene. You find yourself now floating just above the orbital plane, looking down at the sun and the circles traced around it. The orbits are not perfect circles, but gentle ellipses, soft ovals that repeat endlessly with no beginning and no end. You can see the path of the innermost planet, a fine line of pale light, and you let yourself descend toward it, drifting down like a leaf settling on still water. The motion is so slow, so gradual, that you might not even notice it happening, and that is exactly right. There is no need to notice, no need to track your progress. You are simply here, and the journey is unfolding in its own time. As you come closer to that inner orbit, you notice the surface of the sun below you, not as a turbulent, dramatic thing, but as a vast, quiet sea of golden light, its brightness softened by distance and dream. The solar surface moves, yes, but in slow, undulating waves, like the breathing of a sleeping giant. Granules of light rise and fall, and you watch them without any need to understand, just observing the peaceful rhythm, the calm pulse of a star that has been shining for 4.5 billion years. The light that leaves the sun now will take 8 minutes to reach Earth, and in that journey, it asks nothing. It rushes nowhere. It simply travels, and so do you, drifting in the same unhurried way around you. The darkness is not empty, but full of a soft, dusty glow, the zodiacal light, a faint scattering of sunlight off ancient particles that have been circling here since the solar system was young. You see the dust, ancient dust that has drifted for eons. And it sparkles faintly, like the memory of a dream. It moves in slow, silent currents carried by gravity and light, and you drift among it, a part of the same quiet flow. There is no hurry. Time moves differently here. The seconds stretch into long, comfortable pauses, and a minute might hold the peace of 1,000 years. You can feel the slow rotation of your own perspective, as if you are turning gently, just enough to see the full sweep of the scene, the endless dark punctuated by steady, distant stars and the one great, calm brightness below. You are not dizzy, not disoriented, just gently turning, like a planet itself, in a circle that feels natural and restful. And now, slowly, very slowly, you begin to notice the first planet, the one whose orbit you have been approaching. It is a small world, gray and cratered, with a surface that has been still for a very long time. This is Mercury, and it is not racing, not frantic, despite what you might have once heard. Here, in this dream, it moves with a quiet dignity, a slow, stately progress along its path. You can see it in the distance, a pale dot growing gradually larger, and you feel no need to speed up or to meet it in any kind of hurry. You simply drift toward it, and the planet drifts toward you, and the space between you closes with the patience of two clouds approaching each other in a windless sky. The light from the sun catches Mercury's surface and makes it gleam softly, like old silver, and you see the craters, the ancient scars of a time long past. But they are not violent. They are just features, quiet reminders of a history that is over and done, leaving behind only calm and stillness. You find yourself now drifting just above Mercury's surface, close enough to see the fine dust, the regolith that has lain undisturbed for billions of years. The world is silent, utterly silent, and the silence is not an absence, but a substance, thick and comforting. You can imagine running your hand through the dust, and it would be cool to the touch, fine and soft, like ash from a long, extinguished fire. The sun hangs in the black sky, larger than you would ever see from Earth, but still gentle in this vision. A warm, unwavering presence that never blinds. The Terminator, the line between day and night, moves across the surface with incredible slowness, creeping forward only a few meters each hour. And you can watch it without any sense of waiting, because waiting implies expectation. And here, there is none. The light and the dark coexist peacefully, and you drift from one to the other, from the warm, sunlit side to the cool, star, shadowed side, and back again, in a gentle oscillation that mirrors the orbit itself. Round and round, the planet turns once every 50. 9 days, a rotation so slow it feels like a breath drawn out over a lifetime. You settle into the rhythm of this place, and you become aware of the orbit itself. Not just the path, but the motion, the gentle, continuous fall that keeps Mercury curving around the sun. The feeling is like being on a swing that never stops, a perpetual gliding motion that is so smooth you can barely feel it. There is no jolt, no acceleration, just the steady, unwavering curve. And as you drift, You notice that the stars beyond are not stationary. They seem to wheel slowly, very slowly, as the planet carries you along. The constellations you might know are not visible here. Instead, there are new patterns, quiet arrangements of light that have no names and need none. You can let your gaze rest on them, and they will not demand that you identify them. They just are. And you just see them. And that is enough. Time passes, but you don't measure it. The planet continues its orbit, and you continue to float, and the sun continues to shine with its steady, golden patience. You are aware, in a distant, dreamy way, that you are witnessing a process that has been repeating for eons. Mercury has completed the same circuit more than 18 billion times since the solar system formed, and each circuit has been as calm and as certain as the last. There's a comfort in that repetition, a deep, rhythmic reassurance that the universe follows patterns, and those patterns hold, and they will continue to hold. You are being carried by one of those patterns now, and you can let go completely, knowing that the orbit will not falter. And as you sink deeper into this tranquil awareness, your attention drifts to a small detail on the surface below. It is a crater, one among thousands, but it catches the light in a way that feels intentional, though you know it is only chance. The crater has a central peak, a small mountain that rises from the middle of the depression, and the sun illuminates it from one side, casting a long, soft shadow that stretches across the crater floor. You watch the shadow. It moves, but so slowly that the movement is almost imperceptible. The shadow is a sundial on a world where a day lasts 2 years, and you can feel the quiet, monumental patience of it. The shadow inches forward, and you drift, watching, not waiting, not expecting, just observing. The crater rim catches the light in a thin, silver crescent, and the rest of the crater is in deep, velvety black, a darkness that is not frightening but restful. Like a cool pillow turned over in the night, you let your attention linger on this one crater for what might be a long time or a short time. It doesn't matter, because time has stretched and softened around you. You can circle the same description in your mind: the crater, the shadow, the peak, the slow turn of the light, the quiet dust, the stillness. And each time you circle back, the image is a little different, but mostly the same, and the repetition itself becomes a lullaby. The shadow moves. The crater rests, the sun watches, and you are here, a part of the stillness, a part of the quiet, and now, gently, without any sense of leaving anything behind, you feel yourself beginning to drift away from Mercury. The planet does not fade so much as it simply becomes less present, its surface details softening into a pale, smooth sphere, and then into a point of light. And then you are back in the space between worlds, floating in the calm dark. The orbit you are following is still there, a faint, glowing thread, and you can see it curving onward. But your attention is drawn to the next thread, the next path, a little farther out from the sun. This is the orbit of Venus, and you drift toward it with the same unhurried ease, the same gentle floating motion that has carried you so far. The sun's warmth is still with you, but it is a little fainter here, a little more diffuse, and the space around you has a different quality, a slightly thicker stillness, if stillness can be said to have thickness, a quiet that is rich and deep. You find yourself now approaching Venus, a planet wrapped in soft, pale clouds. The clouds are not stormy, they are smooth, creamy, glowing faintly with reflected sunlight. They move, but slowly, in great, lazy bands that wrap around the planet like silk scarves drifting in a slow current. The entire world is a pearl, a sphere of gentle light, and as you drift closer, you can see the subtle gradations of color. From ivory to the palest yellow, from soft cream to a blush of gold at the limb, there is no sharpness. No harsh line between the planet and space. The atmosphere blurs the boundary, making it seem as if Venus is dissolving softly into the surrounding dark. Or perhaps the dark is dissolving into Venus, and it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. You drift into that blurred boundary, and you find yourself surrounded by the high clouds of Venus. They are not cold, not hot, just a comfortable, enveloping mist. The particles of cloud drift past you, tiny droplets of sulfuric acid that, in this dream, are no more threatening than morning dew. They catch the light and scatter it, creating a soft, diffuse glow that surrounds you on all sides. There is no up or down, no direction that demands to be followed. You can simply float here, in this gentle, luminous fog, and listen to the silence. The silence on Venus is different from the silence of Mercury. It is a rapt silence, a muffled quiet, like the hush of a room where snow is falling outside. Every sound you might imagine is softened, rounded, absorbed by the thick atmosphere. And though no sound reaches you, you can almost feel the slow, deep breathing of the planet itself, a rhythm that is tied to its stately orbit. Venus orbits the Sun in 220, 5 Earth days, but its rotation is even slower, so slow that a day on Venus lasts longer than its year. The planet turns on its axis once every 240, 3 Earth days, and it turns backward in the opposite direction to most of the other planets. This retrograde rotation is not a mistake, not a disruption. It is just another way of dancing, a gentle variation in the cosmic pattern. The sun rises in the west and sets in the east. If you were standing on the surface, but you're not standing, you are floating in the high, peaceful clouds, and you feel no sunrises or sunsets, just the steady, unchanging glow of the perpetual overcast. The clouds are lit from above, and they diffuse the light evenly, so there are no shadows, no contrasts, just an endless, soft, pearlescent radiance that fills your entire field of view. You let yourself drift in this radiance for a while, not thinking, not observing with any purpose, just being. The clouds move around you in slow, spiral patterns, and you move with them. A part of the gentle circulation, there is no rush. The atmosphere circles the planet in huge, lazy currents, and you are carried along. One tiny particle among billions, all moving in the same peaceful, flowing dance. The feeling is like being suspended in a warm bath, weightless and supported, with nothing to do and nowhere to go. The sky above the clouds, if you could see it, would be the same soft, muted glow, and the sky below the clouds, if there were a below, would be the same. Here, in the middle, everything is equal. Everything is still, and as you drift, you notice a subtle variation in the clouds, a slightly brighter patch, a slightly cooler tone. Your attention settles on this small detail, and you watch it the way you watch the crater on Mercury, without expectation, just letting it be what it is. The bright patch is a region where the cloud particles are a little thinner, a little more translucent, and the light from the sun penetrates just a little deeper before being scattered. It is not a hole, not a gap, just a gentle thinning, like a soft breath on a window pane. The patch shifts and morphs, stretching into a long, thin streamer that curls around itself and then slowly fades back into the uniform glow. Another patch forms nearby, and another, and you watch them appear and disappear. A slow, silent ballet of light and mist. There is a rhythm to it, a cycle that repeats but never exactly, and you find comfort in the familiarity of the change. The way the clouds are always the same but always slightly different. The way the light is always soft but always subtly new. Time continues to pass. Or not pass. It's hard to tell. And you don't need to tell. The orbit of Venus carries you around the sun, and you are aware of the movement only as a faint sense of progression. Like the gentle forward glide of a boat on a still lake, the stars beyond the clouds are hidden, but you know they are there, wheeling in their own slow patterns, and that knowledge is enough. You are part of a vast, interconnected system, a system that moves in predictable, comforting circles, and you can rest within it, knowing that nothing is required of you. And now, gently, you begin to rise out of the clouds of Venus, as easily as a bubble rising through water. The pale, glowing mist thins around you, and the darkness of space returns, soft and welcoming. You look back at Venus, and it is a beautiful crescent now, a slim arc of silver light, receding calmly into the distance. The orbit you have been following is still there, a faint line of light, and you can see it curving away. But your attention is already drawn outward, to the next orbit, the next dance. This is the orbit of Earth, and you drift toward it with the same patient, floating ease, the same slow, inevitable pull. As you approach the orbit of Earth, you begin to sense a difference in the space around you. It is not a visual difference, not something you can point to, but a feeling of familiarity, of home. You are moving toward the place where you began, though you are not going back there. Not landing, just drifting by, like a visitor passing a beloved house in the quiet of the night. The sun is fainter here, its warmth more distant, but still steady, and the light that reaches you is the exact light that has nourished this world for eons. You see Earth ahead, a small blue and white marble, suspended in the black. It turns slowly, so slowly, its surface covered in the soft swirls of cloud and the deep, calm blues of ocean. There is no sound, but you can almost hear the hush of wind and wave, a distant, soothing murmur that is more memory than sound. You drift closer, and you notice the moon, Earth's constant companion, orbiting just beyond. The moon is gray and serene, its surface marked with the same ancient, quiet craters you saw on Mercury. But here they are bathed in a softer light, the light of Earthshine. The moon orbits Earth once every 7 days, a slow, faithful circling that has been going on for more than 4 billion years. It does not hurry. It does not falter. It just circles, and circles, and circles, a patient dance partner to the blue world. You can feel the gravity of the Earth, moon system as a gentle, rocking pull, a kind of cosmic lullaby that sways you back and forth as you drift between them. The two bodies are locked in a mutual embrace, each pulling on the other, not to possess, but to keep company, to maintain the steady, rhythmic dance. You find yourself now floating in the space between Earth and moon, equidistant from both, and the feeling is one of perfect balance. On one side, the Earth fills a portion of the sky, its crescent glowing with a thin, blue, white light, the oceans reflecting the sun in a glittering arc. On the other side, the moon is full, its surface a soft, mottled gray, with dark Maria, ancient lava plains, forming patterns that have been gazed at for millennia. You are suspended in a Lagrange point of the heart, a place where all forces cancel out, and there is only stillness. You can let your gaze wander from one world to the other, and the journey is effortless. A simple shift of attention. The moon is drifting, very slowly, away from Earth, a few centimeters each year. But you cannot perceive that, and it doesn't matter. In this moment, the distance is constant, the dance is eternal, and the pace is perfectly slow. You drift a little closer to the moon, and you find yourself skimming above its surface, over the sea of tranquility. The name is appropriate, the sea is dry, but it holds a deep, abiding tranquility. The regolith here is fine and soft, and the footprints left by visitors long ago are still perfectly preserved, not because they are important, but because there is no wind, no weather, no hurry to erase them. The sun casts long, gentle shadows across the gray plains, and you drift along the terminator, the line between light and dark, which moves with the patient slowness of a half-month long day. The craters are quiet bowls of shadow, and you let your attention fall into one, a deep, cool darkness that is entirely restful. The darkness here is not empty, it is full of the promise of light, the light that will return in another 14 days, creeping across the crater floor with the same slow, inevitable certainty that marks all things in this place. And as you drift over the moon, you look back at Earth, and you see it rise above the lunar horizon. An Earthrise, but so slow, so gradual, that it would take hours for the full disk to clear the edge of the moon. You watch it, or rather, you let it happen in your awareness, a blue and white arc growing slowly, very slowly, above the gray. The Earth is beautiful, and it is calm. You can see the swirl of a weather system, a great, gentle spiral of cloud over the ocean, but it is not a storm. It is just a pattern, a slow, breathing movement of the atmosphere. The clouds shift and flow, and you see lightning flicker in their depths, but it is silent and distant and soft, like a heartbeat seen from across a room. The earth turns, and the continents slide into night, and the cities light up. But from here, those lights are only a faint, golden glow, a gentle radiance that speaks of rest, of evening, of the quiet settling of 1 billion people into sleep. You drift back from the moon, out into the space between, and you feel the slow, rocking pull of the two worlds again. You let yourself be rocked. Let the gravity of Earth and moon cradle you. There is a rhythm to it, a rhythm that matches the tides, the rise and fall of oceans, the slow, eternal breathing of water. The tides go in, the tides go out, pulled by the moon, and the Earth's rotation gradually slows, the day lengthening by milliseconds each century. But you don't notice the slowing. You only notice the rhythm, the steady, soothing pulse. In, out, rise, fall, circle, return. The moon goes around, the earth goes around, and you are here, in the middle, perfectly at peace. And now, gently, you feel the dance begin to widen. The earth and moon recede together, still circling each other, still a pair, but you are drifting outward, following the orbit of Earth around the sun, but then moving beyond it, into the deeper dark. The sun is smaller now, its light cooler, and the space ahead is dotted with a fine, scattered band of light, the asteroid belt. You are moving into the realm of the small worlds, the leftover building blocks of the solar system, and they orbit with the same calm, predictable grace as the planets. You find yourself in the asteroid belt, a vast, diffuse region between Mars and Jupiter, where millions of rocky bodies circle the sun in quiet, solitary paths. The belt is often imagined as a crowded field of tumbling rocks, but the reality is far more serene. The asteroids are, on average, millions of kilometers apart, and you can drift through this region without ever seeing another rock nearby. The space here is still mostly empty, still mostly dark, still mostly silent. But every now and then, as you drift, a small, irregular shape glides past you, a rocky worldlet a few kilometers across, its surface pitted and ancient. It turns slowly, tumbling in a lazy, irregular rotation that is not chaotic but simply unhurried, like a stone rolling gently down an endless, invisible hill. You watch one such asteroid as it passes. It is dark gray, almost charcoal, and its surface is covered in craters and fractures. The sun lights one side, leaving the other in deep shadow. And as it turns, the light slides across its contours, revealing new craters, new ridges, new patches of smooth, dark rock. The rotation is so slow, you can only perceive it if you watch for a long time. And you do watch, drifting alongside it, letting your own motion match its motion. The asteroid is not going anywhere in a hurry. Its orbit takes 4 or 5 years to complete, and it has been following the same path for eons, never varying, never straying, just circling, circling, circling. You can feel the quiet, steady patience of this small world, the way it simply continues, without ambition, without urgency, without any need to be anything other than what it is. Other asteroids drift into view and out again, each in its own orbit, each a world unto itself. Some are lighter in color, some darker, some are rounded, some jagged, but all share the same quiet, the same slow, faithful circling. You can hear, or imagine you hear, a faint, musical hum, the resonance of their orbits, a kind of silent harmony that fills the belt. This is the music of the spheres, a concept ancient philosophers dreamed of. And here, in the quiet, you can almost perceive it, not with your ears, but with a deeper sense, a sense of the order and pattern that underlies everything. The asteroids are in orbital resonance with Jupiter, which lies farther out, their paths governed by simple, whole number ratios. Some complete 2 orbits for every one of Jupiter's, some 3 for every 2, and these ratios create a gentle, repeating pattern, a slow, mathematical dance that never misses a step. You drift through the belt, and you notice a particularly bright point of light ahead. It is Ceres, the largest asteroid, a dwarf planet, round and smooth, with a surface of water, ice, and rock. You drift toward it, and as you approach, you see that it is pale, almost white, with patches of darker material. The surface is still, but there are hints of ancient activity, a cryovolcano, long dormant, a dome of ice that once flowed. Now, though, it is perfectly quiet, a small, frozen world that orbits the sun once every 4.5 years. You circle Ceres slowly, observing the subtle variations in its surface, the way the light catches the ice and makes it gleam softly, like fresh snow under a full moon. The craters here are shallower than on rocky worlds, because the ice flows very, very slowly over geological time, relaxing the sharp edges. You can feel the cold of this place, But it is not a harsh cold. It is the coolness of a quiet, shaded room, the kind that invites you to pull a blanket close and rest. And so you rest for a while, drifting alongside Ceres, letting the dwarf planet's gentle gravity hold you in a loose, lazy orbit. You are a temporary moon, a visitor, and there is no need to go anywhere, no need to move on. But eventually, without decision, you feel yourself drifting again, away from Ceres, away from the asteroid belt, toward the realm of the giant planets, where the sun is even more distant and the light is pale gold. The first of the giants is Jupiter, and long before you see it, you feel it. Its gravity is a deep, steady hum, a pull that is stronger than anything you have felt since the sun, but it is still gentle, still patient. Jupiter is a massive world, but it is not threatening. It is a guardian, a shepherd, its gravity shaping the orbits of countless bodies, keeping the dance ordered and calm. You drift toward it, and as you do, the faint, amber light of the planet begins to fill the space ahead. Jupiter appears as a soft, banded sphere, its colors muted and peaceful, creamy white, soft browns, pale oranges, all swirling in slow, horizontal bands. The great red spot is there, a pale coral oval, but it is not a storm of violence. It is a gentle, swirling eddy that has been turning for centuries, a calm, steady vortex, like a whirlpool in a slow, deep river. You drift into Jupiter's gravitational embrace, and you find yourself in the midst of its many moons. There are 4 large ones, the Galilean moons, and they orbit Jupiter in a flat, orderly plane, each in its own path, each a world with its own character. Io is closest, a small, yellowish sphere, but in this vision, its volcanic activity is gentle, a soft, warm glow of lava lakes that pulse slowly, like the embers of a dying fire. Europa is next, smooth and white, its surface a shell of ice over a deep, quiet ocean. You drift down toward Europa, and you imagine, or perhaps you see, the ocean beneath the ice, a dark, still sea that has been there for eons, warmed by the gentle flexing of tidal forces. The ice above is crisscrossed with long, linear fractures, and the sun, small and distant, casts a silvery light across them, making them glow faintly, like cracks in a frozen, white plain. There is a profound peace in this hidden ocean, a quiet so deep it has never been broken by sound. Ganymede is next, the largest moon in the solar system, its surface a patchwork of older, dark terrain and younger, lighter grooves. It orbits Jupiter in 7 days, a slow, calm circuit, and as you drift past it, you see the craters, the ridges, the ancient, quiet landscapes. Callisto follows, even more ancient and still, a world that has changed very little in 4 billion years. Its surface is saturated with craters, so many that they overlap, a record of time so deep it becomes a kind of visual lullaby, circle upon circle upon circle, all frozen in place, all utterly still. You drift among these moons, and you feel the rhythm of their orbits, the way they circle Jupiter in a steady, repeating pattern. Io completes 4 orbits for every 2 of Europa and 1 of Ganymede, a Laplace resonance, and this simple, numerical harmony creates a gentle, pulsing rhythm, a slow heartbeat that has been beating since the moons were formed. You can let yourself be carried by this rhythm. drifting from one moon to the next, following the invisible lines of gravity that connect them all. The light from Jupiter itself fills the sky, a soft, amber glow that is warm and comforting. And you realize that Jupiter, for all its size, is just another dancer, turning slowly, very slowly, once every 10 hours. But in this dream, even that rotation feels languid, a lazy pirouette in the dark. You drift away from the Galilean moons and into the larger Jovian system, where smaller, irregular moons orbit in distant, inclined paths. They are tiny, dark, captured asteroids, and they circle Jupiter in long, slow ellipses that take years to complete. You watch one of these distant moons, a small, dark speck. As it traces its path, the orbit is steeply tilted, and it goes high above the plane of the other moons, then plunges down below, over and over, a gentle, sweeping arc that never varies. The pattern is hypnotic, a slow, graceful pendulum that swings across the blackness, and you can watch it for as long as you like, letting the regularity of it soothe you. And now, gently, the pull of Jupiter begins to fade, and you drift outward again, toward the next giant, the one with the rings. Saturn is ahead, and even from far away, you can see the pale, golden arc of its ring system, a series of fine, concentric circles that surround the planet like the grooves of a record, waiting to play a silent song. Saturn itself is a soft, buttery yellow, banded like Jupiter but more muted, more uniform, and it turns slowly, its clouds moving in quiet, parallel lanes. The rings are not solid. They are made of countless particles of ice and rock, ranging in size from dust motes to small boulders, all orbiting Saturn in a flat, orderly plane. The rings are thin, incredibly thin, only a few meters thick in places, and as you drift toward them, you see them edge on a fine, glowing line that bisects the planet. Then, as your angle changes, the line opens into a broad, sweeping disk, and the detail within it becomes apparent. You drift closer, and you enter the rings themselves. You are surrounded by particles of ice, drifting alongside them, moving at the same slow, orbital speed. The particles are pristine and clear, catching the sunlight and scattering it into a million tiny sparkles. You are inside a gentle, silent blizzard, but one that never falls, only circles. The particles are far apart, each in its own quiet path, and you can drift between them, watching the light play on their surfaces. Some are small, like grains of sand, and some are larger, like snowballs, and all of them are ancient, older than the dinosaurs, older than life on Earth. They have been circling here for eons, and they will continue to circle, slowly, very slowly, for eons more. You drift through one of the gaps in the rings, the Cassini division, a dark band where the particle density is lower. The gap is not empty. There are still particles here, but they are sparser, and the darkness is deeper. The gap is maintained by the gravity of one of Saturn's moons, Mimas, which orbits farther out and shepherds the ring particles, keeping the gap clear. You can see Mimas, a small, round moon, pale and cratered, and you feel the gentle, gravitational conversation between it and the rings. A silent, steady dialogue that has been going on for billions of years. The patterns in the rings are all shaped by these shepherd moons, and there is a comfort in knowing that the order you see is not imposed by force, but by quiet, persistent influence. You let yourself drift with the ring particles, moving in the same slow, circular path. You are a part of the ring now, another tiny particle in a vast, silent disk. The sun is far away, a bright star among stars, and its light is cold but still illuminates the ice around you, creating a diffuse, ethereal glow. You look up, or rather, you look out and you see the curved surface of Saturn above you, its pale clouds swirling gently, its shadow falling across the rings on the far side, creating a soft blue, gray twilight. The whole scene is one of profound, quiet beauty, a beauty that asks nothing of you, that simply exists to be witnessed. And you are witnessing it in your own time, in your own way. As you drift, you notice a small, bright moonlet embedded in the ring, a tiny world only a few hundred meters across. It orbits within the ring, and as it moves, it creates a small wake, a gentle disturbance in the particles around it. The wake is a subtle, propeller-shaped pattern, and you watch it, fascinated not with excitement, but with a quiet, meditative attention. The pattern is always changing, but always the same, a repeating, fluid shape that flows around the moonlet and then fades back into the smoothness of the ring. It is a tiny dance within the larger dance, a fractal of order, and you can watch it for what feels like a very long time, letting the repetition of it wash over you, smoothing the edges of your thoughts, softening them into stillness. And now, gently, you drift out of the rings, rising above the plane, and you see Saturn in its entirety again, the ringed giant shrinking slowly into the distance. The rings gleam, a series of fine, pale arcs, and Saturn's globe glows softly, a warm, golden sphere. The moons of Saturn, Titan, Enceladus, Dione, Rhea, Tethys, Iapetus, all orbit at their various distances, each in its own calm path, and you can see them as points of light, moving with the same quiet, predictable grace. Titan is the largest, wrapped in a thick, orange haze, and as you drift past it, you imagine, or perhaps you feel, the stillness of its surface, the liquid methane lakes, the gentle rain, the slow, patient weathering of ice. It is a cold world, but not a harsh one. It is a world of deep, abiding quiet, a place where time stretches out endlessly, where a year lasts 29 Earth years, and the seasons change with a slowness that is almost unimaginable. You drift past the other moons, each a quiet world of ice and rock, each orbiting in its own steady rhythm. The patterns repeat, the circles continue, and you are carried along, a silent observer, a passenger on the slowest, gentlest boat imaginable. The light is dimmer now, the sun smaller still, and the cold of deep space is a cool, soothing presence, like a gentle hand on your forehead. You are moving toward the outermost planets, the ice giants, where the sun is only a very bright star, and the orbits are vast, slow, and profoundly peaceful. Uranus appears ahead, a pale, blue-green sphere, its color soft and muted. Like old glass, this planet is tilted almost entirely on its side, its axis of rotation nearly in the plane of its orbit. It rolls around the sun like a ball, its poles facing the light in turn, and this strange, gentle orientation gives it a different kind of seasonal rhythm. A year on Uranus lasts 84 Earth years, and the seasons are extreme, but not violent. the sun simply moves from one pole to the other. Slowly, very slowly, over decades, you drift toward Uranus, and you see its faint, dark rings, much thinner and darker than Saturn's, but still present, still circling, a quiet reminder that order persists here too. The rings are made of dark, organic, rich particles, and they absorb light rather than reflect it, so they are almost invisible, just a subtle darkening of the sky near the planet. You drift closer to Uranus, and you enter its atmosphere, a deep, cool, blue, green realm of methane and hydrogen and helium. The clouds here are not the bright, white clouds of Earth, but deep, muted layers that stretch down into the planet, fading from pale blue to deeper teal, and then to a dark, mysterious indigo. There is no solid surface, just a gradual transition from gas to liquid to a deep, slushy interior, and you drift through the upper layers, feeling the cool, the quiet, the profound stillness of this distant world. The wind speeds are high on Uranus, but in this dream, they are gentle breezes, soft currents that carry you along with no more force than a lullaby. The planet's magnetic field is tilted and offset, a strange, asymmetrical thing, but it is not chaotic. It is just another variation in the dance, another gentle oddity that makes the universe interesting and comforting in its diversity. You drift through the Uranian system, past its moons, Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, Titania, Oberon, all small, dark, icy worlds, all orbiting in the same plane, all following the same quiet laws. Miranda is the most striking, its surface a jumbled patchwork of terrains, a quiet, frozen record of ancient upheaval. But even that upheaval is long past, and now Miranda is still, perfectly still, its fractures and cliffs softened by eons of quiet. You drift past it, and you see the deep canyons, the high scarps, but they are not dramatic. They are just features, calm and resting in the pale, distant light of the sun. The sun is a tiny disk now, no larger than a pinprick, but its light still reaches here, still illuminates the ice, still provides a gentle, steady warmth that is more of a memory than a sensation. Beyond Uranus lies Neptune, the last of the planets, a deep, vivid blue that is both cool and soothing. Neptune's blue is a richer, deeper color than Uranus's, a true oceanic blue, and as you drift toward it, you feel as though you are approaching a vast, calm sea. The planet has bands like Jupiter, but they are fainter, subtler, and they shift slowly, lazily, over time. The great dark spot, if it appears, is not a storm of violence, but a quiet, deep vortex, a slow whirlpool in the planet's atmosphere, and it drifts across the disk with a calm, stately motion, eventually fading and reforming, a gentle cycle of appearance and disappearance that repeats without any urgency. You drift into Neptune's system, and you see its largest moon, Triton, a bright, icy world that orbits backward, in a retrograde orbit that is slowly, very slowly, spiraling inward. But the spiral is so slow, so gradual, that it will take billions of years for Triton to reach Neptune's surface. And in the meantime, it orbits with the same quiet, predictable rhythm as everything else. Triton has a thin atmosphere, and its surface is covered in nitrogen ice, with dark streaks from cryovolcanic plumes. But the plumes are not erupting now, or if they are so gentle, so faint, that they are just soft whispers of gas, drifting up and settling back down. A slow, silent breathing. You drift over Triton's surface, over the cantaloupe terrain, the smooth plains, the few craters, and the cold here is profound. But it is a clean, pure cold, a cold that stills everything, that slows all motion down to a perfect, peaceful halt. And beyond Neptune, the solar system continues. You drift out, past the orbit of Pluto, into the Kuiper Belt, a vast, diffuse ring of icy bodies that stretches from Neptune's orbit out to 50 astronomical units from the Sun. The objects here are small, dark, and cold, and they orbit in long, slow ellipses that take hundreds of years to complete. You see one of these objects, a dwarf planet named Haumea, elongated and spinning slowly, its rapid rotation, long ago, having stretched it into an oblong shape. But even that spin is gentle now. A lazy 200-hour rotation, and the object is surrounded by a faint ring and 2 small moons, all orbiting in the same plane, the same quiet dance. You drift past Haumea, past Makemake, past Eris, each a distant, icy world, each following its own path, each part of the grand, slow choreography. The Kuiper Belt objects are so far from the Sun that the light takes many hours to reach them, and the Sun itself is just a very bright star, no larger than a pinprick. The temperature is only a few degrees above absolute zero, but in this dream, the cold is not uncomfortable. It is a deep, restful cool, like the coolness of a pillow turned over in the night. The darkness here is almost complete, but it is a soft darkness, a velvet darkness, and the stars are incredibly bright, scattered across the sky in a thick, glittering band. You drift among them, and you feel the slow, steady pulse of the solar system's outer edge, a rhythm that is measured in centuries and millennia, and you continue to drift out into the Oort cloud, a vast, spherical shell of icy comets that surrounds the solar system at a distance of up to a light year. The Oort cloud is so vast that the objects within it are separated by tens of millions of kilometers, and you can drift through it for eons without encountering another body. But you know they are there, these trillions of icy nuclei, each in its own slow, elliptical orbit, each taking tens of millions of years to complete a single circuit. The orbits are so long, so slow, that they are almost straight lines, but they curve, ever so gently, back toward the Sun, pulled by the same patient gravity that holds everything. The comets sleep here, in the deep freeze, and occasionally one is disturbed, nudged into a long, slow fall toward the inner system. But that disturbance is gentle, a subtle gravitational whisper from a passing star. And it happens rarely, over vast stretches of time. You drift through the Oort cloud, and you feel the boundary between the solar system and interstellar space becoming diffuse, blurred. The Sun's gravity is still holding you, still guiding you, but its pull is faint, a distant, gentle embrace that you can barely feel. And yet, you are still here, still within the family of the Sun, still part of the great, slow dance. You look back, and you can see the entire solar system spread out behind you, a tiny, delicate disk of light with the Sun at its center, a warm, golden point. The planets are invisible at this distance, but you know they are there, each in its orbit, each circling with the same quiet, eternal patience. And now, gently, you begin to drift back, The journey inward is just as slow, just as peaceful. As the journey outward, you pass through the Oort cloud, through the Kuiper belt, past Neptune and Uranus, past Saturn and Jupiter, past the asteroid belt, past Mars, past Earth and Venus, past Mercury, and finally, you are back where you started, floating in the calm, warm light of the sun. You have traveled through the entire dance of the planetary orbits, and you have seen that it is all one thing, one great circling, peaceful motion, and you are a part of it, always have been, always will be. The journey does not end, it simply continues, circling back on itself, looping in a quiet, infinite spiral. The sun is still shining, still holding everything in its gentle embrace. The orbits are still tracing their paths, still repeating, still cycling. You can rest now, knowing that the dance will go on, that nothing is required of you, that you can simply float here, in the warmth, in the quiet, and let the rhythm of the spheres carry you into sleep. The journey continues, always, and you are always welcome to drift along. But for now, you can close your eyes and let the circling carry you into rest. The planets will still be here, turning, circling, dancing, when you wake, and you can return anytime. But for now, sleep deeply and peacefully, held by the same gravity that holds the stars.